The Sherpa Screening Room is a presentation of the Sherpa's podcast picks, which can be heard on podcast apps everywhere, and the Sherpalution YouTube page. It's where you'll hear from creators from many fields from all over the world. Now, we take you to the Sherpa Chalet where your host, Jim the Podcast Sherpa, awaits you. Kind of like how I'm waiting to get paid for this.
Today's guest on the Sherpa Screening Room is Callum Yeater, who has a recent career as a movie extra. Speaking of movies, our local theater lost several $1,000s this past weekend. The thieves got away with 3 large sodas and 2 bags of popcorn.
Coming to you from Sherpa Chalet in beautiful downtown Mount Podcastia, it's time for entertainment interviews in the Sherpa Screening Room. Grab an aisle seat and a bucket of popcorn, but don't crunch too loud or you'll miss the show. Now, here's your host, Jim, the Podcast Sherpa.
Hello there, Rebels of the Sherpalution, and welcome to the Sherpa Screening Room. It is a presentation of the Sherpa's Podcast Picks, which is hosted by me, Jim the Podcast Sherpa, sitting here in Sherpaloo Studios in the Sherpa Chalet high atop Mount Podcastia, where I get to overlook all of the millions and millions of podcasts that are out there. But this is not an episode about podcasts. No. This is where we get to talk to the creators, the writers, the actors, the singers, the producers, the directors, the dancers, the mimes. Not the mimes, but, we've discussed that already. Anyway, my guest today is a guy named Callum Yeater. He lives in South Carolina. He is a movie extra looking to get into the movie biz. Aren't we all? I mean, with this handsome face, I could be the next Wolfman, probably. Yeah, that's it. But I got to spend a little time with Callum, a little mini interview, and when we are done, I'm just going to tell you what's going on with our podcast. Nothing bad, I promise you, but we will get to it. But first, my chat with Callum Yeater. Hello there, Rebels. We are here in the Sherpa Screening Room. My guest today is an aspiring actor who has been in a few movies already as an extra, looking to have his voice heard on the big screen or even the small screen. His name is Callum Yeater. He is coming to us from the lovely state of South Carolina, the Palmetto State, I believe. Callum, welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going? Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you, sir. So, what really got you interested in acting?
Well, I had friends that were in the entertainment industry from a young age. Like, one of my best friends, he actually went on to be an executive producer for HBO. Mm-hmm. And, he's always been like trying to push me to get, into some kind of acting, because it's, I guess they saw something in me, but now I've been in Vice Principals. I've been in The Righteous Gemstones. I've got to work with, Danny McBride, Walton Goggins. I did a scene a little while ago with, John Goodman. Sorry, his name almost slipped my mind. I don't know how that happened. But yeah, I did a scene with John Goodman, Sean William Scott, Michael Rooker. I'm getting out there.
Okay. So what was your first exposure to acting? Was it just being the extra, or was it, did you do anything previously?
It was just, being an extra. Like, I was an extra 2 times on Vice Principals, but Righteous Gemstones, like, they called me back like 7 or 8 times. Like, so I got a lot more exposure than a lot of the other extras. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for some reason they just kept calling me, and I didn't mind it. It was really fun to film.
Talk a little bit about the life of an extra on a TV show.
The life of an extra. Well, the pay's not great, but they feed you. Sometimes you get to do scenes with hundreds of other people. Sometimes you get to do small scenes. It's a lot of exposure, like the first one I did, there was about a couple thousand people out there. Mm-hmm. But I've also done the smaller scenes as well, but still haven't gotten any speaking roles, but I'm trying to get into acting, voice acting, whatever I can get my foot into.
Okay. So, have you done any voice acting at all?
No, no, I've got no experience. I know how to do it. I'm pretty good with mimicry, cadences. I got some pretty good spot on impressions, like I'm pretty good with that. But I don't really have that much experience, to be honest. Like, this is just me getting my foot in the water.
Okay, I see. So, how did you first like get involved with being an extra? What do you have to look for like casting calls? Is that what it is, or does it go a different route?
Well, Charleston actually has a decent, background extra casting group over here. So, and a lot of filming is actually coming into this area. We've got Danny McBride living here. We've got, Bill Murray. A bunch of people from Hollywood are, heading to Charleston for whatever reason. But it's been really cool. Like, you drive around, you see sets, and I'm really glad to see that. It's a lot more opportunity.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, we have really heard that, especially like if you've heard some of the other interviews that we've done, where the movie making isn't just limited to Hollywood anymore. They want to go out on location very often and search for a little more authenticity as opposed to just building a set that looks like a city, and where they can be in the actual city itself.
Oh yeah. I honestly saw some pictures from the new season of Fallout, and I'm really excited for that. Like, they really, it looks good so far. Like, I'm very excited for the second season.
Oh, sure. So, what kind of movies and TV did you like while you were growing up?
Of course, I was a big fan of Robert Zemeckis. I've watched Back to the Future, the entire trilogy, more times than I can count.
Mhm.
Of course, Forrest Gump, Full Metal Jacket. I don't really like newer cinema. It's like all these movies coming out nowadays. I just really can't get into it. It's not like how it used to be. Like everything's changed, and like we don't have any more, John Belushi's or or Andy Kaufman, excuse me. It's a totally different scene from back in the day.
Yeah, they don't really have the outrageous characters anymore, right? The larger than life actors, right? Is
Yeah, and
that
like,
what you're saying?
yeah. Like nobody really, like, yeah, you get, excuse me, I'm getting over being sick. But even bigger actors like nowadays, they're getting in shows and the shows are awesome, but they're getting canceled after like 2 or 3 seasons, so they got all these big names, but you know, I, for some reason, they just don't want to keep these shows going. They'd rather put money into reboots and remakes, and I'm just, yeah, it hasn't really been too fun on that end.
Yeah, I guess lots of times, the networks like to drift towards the familiar, which is why there are like 18 versions of Law and Order and CSI and and NCIS and just police shows that spin off further police shows and doctor shows that spin off further doctor shows. Where, yeah, at least I gotta say, for like a lot of the streaming channels, they're at least willing to take a chance.
Oh yeah, Netflix, Tubi, yeah, I just started watching Stranger Things. It's actually, I was expecting to be disappointed, but I'm enjoying it. Like all the nostalgia to the 80s, all the throwbacks, like that made me happy.
I saw the first 3 seasons of that. I liked season 1 and 3. 2 was a little bit of a disappointment, but yeah, at least to delve into like real horror and monsters and to do like a throwback too. It was definitely original on their part. And I think they're creating their last season. I think this is the final season coming up, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, I haven't looked that much into it. Like I just started watching it. Like I usually wait till popularity of shows dwindle to really kind of give them a chance. I work a lot, so it's like I don't really have time, my schedule gets pretty crazy. You know, I work at a Thai restaurant and I'm like always working. Like,
Mhm.
um, but yeah, like The Walking Dead, I'm just now getting into The Walking Dead. There's this other show I've been watching called Revolution, but I already know they canceled that show, but it's like one of the best shows ever written. You know,
Mhm.
the, like all of a sudden, like all the electricity on the planet goes away, and like there's certain people that have these amulets that allow you to have electricity, you know, so people are able to get on the internet if you have them. And you know, they got to season 2 and they just got done bombing Savannah, Georgia, and then all of a sudden, no more. It's gone. One of the best shows ever made.
Yeah, I've never heard of that one. What network is that on?
I watched it originally on Netflix. I want to say it was might have been ABC, but it starred I think his name was Billy Burke. He was Edward or not Edward, Bella's dad in Twilight, but
Oh,
like he was a total like he wasn't anything like he was in those movies. Like, you know, he was pretty cool, like samurai kind of guy, swords, you know, a bunch of militias take over regions of the country. You know,
mhm.
it's really awesome show. I really hate that they canceled it.
So if you're going to get a part in a TV show, what parts would you be leaning towards?
I mean, mostly, you know, I'm not gonna lie, stoner parts. You know, I'd love to get killed in a movie. Like I met Kane Hodder a little while ago. I'd love to get killed by Jason one day. You know, that was a surreal experience. Like that was amazing. uh, but yeah, I just, you know, I'd love to get killed in a couple movies. You know, I'm not really trying to be like, you know, an A-lister, you know,
Mhm.
like I just want to do some films. You know, it seems like a really fun thing to do. And, you know, I'm trying to make sure that I'm able to, you know, take care of my family. And this just seems like one way that'll help me do that.
Okay, I mean, were you looking towards like all the major stuff, or you do independent stuff as well?
Oh, I would do independent stuff. Like you know, even if there's no pay, as long as you can get your name into the credits, you know, that's exposure, you know, the
Mhm.
ability to get on the SAG, you know, that would be really cool.
Yeah, you know, it's funny you talk about being killed in a TV show. One of my guests, a guy named Michael Spedden, was one of the henchmen in the TV show Gotham, and he ends up getting killed. And we were talking about that, and he said, you know, he said, Jim, he said, there's actually an art to dying on screen, believe it or not. He said it's not as easy as you think it is.
Yeah, you got to know how to die. Like you got to sell it, you know, like a lot of people cuz I'm a big fan of B movies, like really terrible cinema, you know. Like they're like stuff like Toxic Avenger, Poultrygeist, Night of the Chicken Dead, Trauma. I love Trauma.
Mhm.
You know, but you know, it's purposely made to look dumb, you know, but yeah, even on them, like the death scenes, like sometimes I'm like watching it and I'm like, that doesn't look right.
Yeah. I see. So, I always ask this to different actors. So if there was like a dream role that you had, whether it was something that was already taken by somebody else or something that you would establish on your own, what would that be?
Oh man. Ooh, I would love to get involved with like Tim Burton movies.
Okay.
Like, yeah, stuff that's really off the wall, creepy, you know, like I like not creepy, that's a bad word to use, but more like the gothic, dark, you know, settings,
Hmm.
like yeah, like The Crow, stuff like that.
Okay. I see. But I mean, was there like any particular character that you would want to play, or
Oh,
what would you
I
be
would
leaning towards?
I would play Jack Sparrow.
You play Jack Sparrow. Okay.
Yeah, like I actually do the cosplay. Like I went to my first con the other day, and like I'm so mad that I didn't win because like I put a lot of work into my costume.
Okay. And you were Jack Sparrow.
Yeah, like I mean, I kind of look like the guy, so it like works out.
Oh, okay. I see. So yeah, so it was a cosplay con. Is that what
Oh,
went to?
it was Acronomicon in Akron, Ohio. Like I went up there as a guest of Eddie Deason, Stephen Joyner. I got to meet, Vincent Price's daughter, John Abrams from Scary Movie, Terrifier 3. I got introduced to some casting directors and agents, and yeah, it was pretty good for my first con. Like I had a lot of fun.
Okay. Yeah, I've actually never been to a con, but I've heard a lot of stories about all the different ones. I was just curious as to what they were like. So, if people want to find about you on social media, is there any place that they should be looking?
Okay, so let me go ahead and pull up my like, is there a place in this Zoom meeting where I can put my socials?
You can just kind of read it out loud, and we'll share it on the show notes.
All right, let me go to my Facebook. I hate technology so bad. Ooh, that's a long profile link. All right, you ready for it?
We can just put it on the show notes.
Okay.
If you don't have it, if it's a bunch of numbers and letters, because people aren't going to remember it, you can just send it to me, Callum.
All right, so
that's how people know me. It's just a bunch of numbers and letters.
Oh, I'm kind of that way with Reddit. I started a Reddit account a few years ago and never touched it again. And now they won't let me change my name. And I tried starting a new account. It wouldn't let me. And I'm like, why?
Reddit is weird. I think it's run by a bunch of 19-year-olds who never really moved out of their parents' basement. And I've never been on a date. So, but they think they run an iron fist over Reddit. So,
oh man, I miss MySpace. Like it took me forever to move on to Facebook. I'm not a social media person at all.
Poor Tom is left out in the cold now.
Oh my God, they did him wrong. Like he took the company, sold it, and now it's like all music.
Right.
Musical artists. Like I can't even access my old profile. So I've got all these pictures that I really would like to get back, but not going to happen.
I think we should look for Tom and say, Tom, I'm not going to be your friend unless you give me my pictures back.
I would be Tom's friend.
Why not? Okay, Rebels all the way out there. I think you should all be Tom's friend. So if you are in the sound of my voice, message Tom, find him wherever he may be. Probably not on MySpace. He's probably on Twitter now or something like that. But we'll look for him. And my guest has been Callum Yeater. And thank you for coming on the show.
Appreciate it.
It looks like the Sherpa is no longer locked in the bathroom at the Sherpa Chalet, so we can finally get back to the show.
Thanks so much to Callum Yeater for swinging by the Sherpa Screening Room, and thanks to you for spending a little time listening as well. We're here with usually new episodes every Wednesday, and we've got the Sherpa Selects on Saturdays, where you get to hear some of my favorite episodes for the first 6 seasons. We're in 13 already. Woo! Time flies when you're having fun. We're still doing all the 2020 stuff, believe it or not. And I guess I just want to talk to you about one little thing that's going on. We now have a new podcast host. It is called Acast. For 6 years, this show was being presented to you through Spotify for Creators. That's what it's called. It was originally Anchor when I started, but it changed its name several times. I think more times than John Cougar Mellencamp. So yeah, this is something where I'm hoping that maybe there might be some new opportunities that may open up. So I felt that a change was warranted. And hopefully the podcast player that you're listening to is getting these episodes. And if it's not, and you're listening somewhere else, let me know, because I'd like to get this podcast played on whatever players we can get it out on. But I know it's on a lot of the major ones. Right now, I think the only difficulty I'm having is with YouTube, because Acast doesn't have a deal with YouTube. So I am manually handling that and uploading my files and all that stuff. So there might be times when the YouTube episode, if you are inclined to listen to it, might be a little late, but I will try and do whatever I can to get it out timely, maybe even earlier if possible. I will do what I can. So that's really it. That's the big change. Hopefully this was transparent to you and you still hear the show from wherever you were listening to the show before. I know I got to hear it on the same podcast app that I've been listening to called Podcast Addict. And I know it's on the main ones too. It's on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and Amazon and Pandora. And actually, we do have like a new website as well through Acast. And I'm probably going to start including the link to that in the show notes if you are inclined to want to check out some of the previous episodes, because they are all there. It's not as fancy schmancy as the last website we had on sherpalution.com, but I think it'll be good if you definitely want to catch up on some episodes. Seems like pretty easy to listen to and pretty easy to maneuver. So that's basically all that I would like to let you know. So being that my voice was probably going to give out any second, I will say to you, and on behalf of myself and Lord Mr. Bruce, a hearty Viva la Sherpalution!
Thanks for listening to the Sherpa Screening Room. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, review, and share this podcast. I'm Mr. Bruce, and this has been a Sherpa Studios production. Viva la Sherpalution!